Hello and welcome to this webinar. Today's discussion is around work from home or the remote worker. The webinar has been made possible thanks to the generous support of Cordy Speech Analytics. In this particular webinar, and the panel will discuss the pros and the cons, the upside, the downside, the technology challenges, the human capital challenges of the work from home model. So my guests today are Bernadette Thomas and Madré Cordy from Surgo BPO Services. They're running approximately 500 remote agents, and it's always been their business model, pre-COVID and post-COVID. Also joining me today will Yashika, Naicker and Treshen Clarman from Rewardsco. Rewardsco, well-known BPO and sales-orientated contact center down in Umhlanga, Durban. And likewise, they have a work-from-home model that was exacerbated by the COVID pandemic and is now being maintained as part of the overall business model. So please join us. It's a robust discussion, some deep insights, some lovely comments and inputs from the panel. And I hope you enjoy the workshop. Work from home, the big subject. And this particular webinar came about that Bernadette and Yashika and myself did a little workshop down at the Papesa conference. I was expecting 8 or 10 people. We turned out to have nearly 50 people in the room at the time. And I think it turned into some really robust discussions. So that gives rise to the discussions today. I think by way of introductions first, Yashika, can you turn your camera on, please? Yashika is the managing executive for information technology at Rewardsco. 14 years, I believe, at Rewardsco and running IT infrastructure, head of infrastructure and operations. And if I remember our discussions down in Cape Town with a passion for data and data security. Yashika, any comment on that?
Absolutely. Yes. Hi, Rob. Sorry, I'm just having a bit of technical issues switching my camera on. It's disabled itself for the moment. I'll do so shortly.
Never mind. That's good. Good to have you with us, Yashika. The other top screen, Bernadette Thomas, Head of Operations for Surgo. And we're going to hear a little bit more about Surgo from you shortly, Bernadette, but it's a fascinating business model. And I believe you're Head of Operations, a BCom in industrial psychology, so we better watch it, and a passion for people. Treshen, you're sitting down in Umhlanga, Head of Sales for Rewardsco. I see it's 14 years you've been there. You've got yourself a Rolex watch yet for long service. I hope so. And multiple certificates in IT management, and an obsession for driving commercial success. I'm sure the stakeholders would be pleased to hear that. Madré from Surgo as well. I see you've done executive marketing manager, operations, general manager, HR. You've done it all. And now your title, innovation and technology. Also joining us today, Cordy Springett, who is the speech analytics specialist with Corby, also on hand to help us with any fancy technical questions relating to particularly using technologies in the work from home environment. So welcome everybody, and let's get the show on the road. To all of our delegates who've logged in, please at any time fire up any questions. I am monitoring the chat and the Q&A, so feed those into us and let's get going. I'm going to start off just with a few stats that I managed to pull off the research this morning, and I was looking at remote agents and remote working trends. And what I found fascinating, these are said fresh off the research platforms this morning, is in the UK today, and this is based on some research done by Contact Babel fairly recently. It says 93% of contact centers are expecting growth with work from home in the next year or so, much of which will be in a hybrid work from home and office based. In the US, 25% of all contact center workers are expected to be work from home going forward into 2024. And in SA, interesting figure, before COVID, 7% was work from home. It rose to 80% during COVID and appears to be stabilizing at about 40% of work agents work from home. The panelists, anybody got any commentary on those trends? I'm going to start with Bernadette. Your trends.
Yeah, I think that is spot on, Rob. I think with COVID, obviously, it forced us to do the work from home model, and it's actually shown us that it works. And on our end, in terms of the work from home, I mean, we have 400 employees, which is a 96% rate work from home. And we've been doing that for more than 4 years now. So, and we've seen that it works. It definitely works. It's a model that I don't think we're going to change very soon. We prefer the work from home because we've just seen so many benefits to it for employees, but I'm sure we're going to get a little bit more, delve a bit deeper into employee wellness.
We will indeed.
Go ahead. Yeah.
And then Yashika, from your side, from Rewardsco's side, give us a high level of the type of operations that Rewardsco is involved in or has been and is. And then let's look at pre-COVID, COVID and post-COVID stats, just very high level.
Perfect, Rob. So Rewardsco is a BPO, just to give you some background, based in Umhlanga, Durban. So we have 3 buildings housing a total of 1,700 agents. So pre-COVID, we were 100% office-based. That is all our sectors, and we have quite a few. So we've got an outbound contact center, an inbound contact center. We've got customer care, retentions, digital, and obviously our back office. When COVID hit, we were faced with the challenge, like most businesses, to now go remote, because if we wanted to keep our business alive, we'd have to get our staff situated at home. So we then started our work from home journey. At that point, we had deployed over 600 staff members in a matter of a week from on-prem remote. And that's where we lived for about 6 months. When restrictions sort of became easier and the lockdown levels changed, we brought back most of our staff, and we currently have about 300 staff still at home. During the lockdown time, although some businesses, experienced quite hardship, we were quite fortunate being in the telecommunications business. So we saw a 300% increase in our revenue during that space. So that was quite beneficial to us.
That's interesting. Mm-hmm.
Correct. So it really worked in our favor. And even now, we have an estimation of about 250 individuals working from home, and all very well in production. We have quite a lot of measures in place to manage them, but it definitely still works for us.
Excellent. That's great to hear those stories. And coming back to the Surgo environment, Madré, as your role in running the Surgo, why don't you just give us a high-level 30-second, 1-minute overview of the Surgo operation, what you actually do, and then we'll come back to how we manage the workforce.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Rod. Yeah, I think it's there's a lot of companies that don't have an innovations department, so it's quite an interesting development and a new area that we implemented about a year ago. So as the innovation and technology manager, I oversee a dynamic portfolio that basically includes 3 key departments. Firstly, it's the business intelligence department. They are responsible to analyze and visualize our data to ensure that we make informed decisions. And then secondly, the IT department, who's responsible for providing IT support across the organization. And then thirdly, the innovation department, which then focuses on the automation, the enhancing of the process efficiency, spearheading the creation of innovative systems and digital products. So in essence, if I had to sum it up, I would say my role revolves around harnessing the power of technology to propel Surgo forward and to ensure data-driven insights, seamless IT operations, and then also continuous innovation in our processes, but also in our digital offerings.
Okay, excellent. We're going to come back and see how that impacts on the work from home model. Treshen, you're the man chasing the money. Show me the money. Revenue, sales. What's been your experience in the pre-COVID, COVID, and now the post-COVID period, driving teams to achieve, greater revenues?
Sure.
Over to you.
So initially when I think it was about 3 days we had to get ready before we went, completely locked down. Within the first 2 weeks, we realized that, we need to get some processes in place here, because like some of the guys can just switch their PC off and take a walk and know what's happening in the operation. So we put some processes in place, aligned the strategic goals of the business with those processes. And then we started to find some good positive benefits of it. Like we were able to access people that we normally wouldn't. Like I've got agents at Darling on a farm that's very far away from the metropolitan area. So we've got much better access to a much larger variety of and diversity of people. I think better talent pool as well. What's really hits home for me is that I do have quite a few disabled employees that normally would never ever be able to get a job, And with this, it gives them access to a job, and surprisingly, they're one of our top guys from a sales perspective. So it's got in terms of job creation, it's really cool. Commercially, we don't take so much of costs because the guys are home. Most of the direct costs is lying with him, and he saves a lot when it comes to his transportation. He can eat whatever he wants because he's at home the entire day. So also from a customer, from an employee perspective, it also has a lot of benefits because our employee attrition rates are really low. We've got the best sort of retention rates for our employees on the work from home structure, and then with lower costs and then increased revenue because our productivity is through the roof, because we actually can dial. If somebody wants to dial till 8 o'clock, we have the potential of doing that because it's on his own onus, So it's better productivity, reduce costs, improving the bottom line. And overall, we have a better retention rates of employees, as well as a better overall talent pool that we have access to. So it's kind of like a win-win-win situation, eh?
Okay, excellent. We seem to have lost Yashika, but let's bounce it back to Bernadette. On your side, what has been the experience that you've had on productivity figures from your agents in a work from home environment? I know you're biased strongly towards work from home, but just a quick heads up on productivity with your degree in psychology as well, the impact of COVID on work from home agents, and particularly the post-COVID environment.
Yeah, I think I also just want to touch on that return on investment that was mentioned here by Treshen as well. It's like one of the top things that we're very passionate about is people in Surgo. So South Africa, as we know, is struggling with very high unemployment rates. And according to SA stats, the official unemployment rate in the second quarter of 2023 was at 32.6%. That's 7.9 million people are unemployed. And the total number of unemployed youth was between the ages of 15 to 34, and that was 5%. So I think one of the big return on investments as well in the work from home solution is the fact that we have talented individuals, and especially youth, that are waiting to showcase their abilities. And then with our work from home solution, our model, we are able to, as Treshen's really mentioned, they tap into that talent pool because we can recruit remotely throughout South Africa. And then if we look at our productivity, I'll just take you through some of the stats that we have there. And in our side, when we moved over to the work from home solution 4 years ago, we invested in creating our own workforce management system, because obviously with employees not being in office, it's a little bit more difficult to...
a very different model. Yeah, I can see that.
Different model, because we can only manage what we see, right? So with Surgo, we have Madré and our innovations department that are on top of that at all times. We've created this work from home workforce management system. And for us, is to mitigate the challenges that you face, we created this, and it's a timekeeping solution that's web-based application, and it's tracking our agents remotely and providing us detailed analytics on where time is spent in the workday. It offers us an accurate way to track the time spent working and time spent on breaks, allowing our team members to be more productive and maximize the use of their time. As Treshen has already mentioned there, with employees working from home, they tend to actually put in a bit of extra hours. They don't mind putting in that extra hours, which also boosts our productivity. And I know Madré can give you some more information in terms of other additional tools that we've also implemented, because obviously now we look at data security and GDPR. So there's other ways that we monitor and manage the productivity of our agents working remotely as well. And also just to state that productivity is boosted. Our average what is it now? The time that the guys spend on the phones and chats and in calls with our clients, the availability is like at 96, sometimes over 100%. They're always available as well. So we don't have issues with our employees working from home because they're happy to do so. And so that boosts our productivity. They also feel that they have the autonomy to work on their own. They don't have a manager over their shoulder all the time. And again, that also just makes them feel like they're valued more. And because of that, they'll give us more productivity as well.
More productivity.
Yeah.
Treshen, I was hoping that Yashika would come back in again because her speciality is technology, but you can also speak to tech, I'm sure. Your platforms, at the time when you had to move very fast to deploy into a remote environment during COVID, and now managing it in the post-COVID environment, just give us a heads up on the type of platforms you use, and if you can provide us also some insights into data security, which is, I think, has become a big issue. And then Madré, I'll come back to you and get your views from a Surgo point of view. Trish?
So one of the things when we done this, we started to quickly learn that with what we encounter in South Africa, like load shedding, it becomes a real problem because the guys at home don't have backup generators and external power sources to keep them going in those challenges, So we did some work on what we could do to mitigate these factors, multi-vendor VPNs as well as multi power sources, so that even when it's load shedding, the guys can still be productive. We also did forecasting in terms of scheduling where the guys live, what's the tendency of going through load shedding. So proactively, we kind of have an idea what the week's going to look like, and we monitor the ESCOM stage load shedding. And then if some of the guys we know is going to have a hectic week, they requested to come to the office for that week. So we got quite a good balance when it comes to that, to manage the productivity. From a data perspective and data protection perspective, we use dark trace routing. So that basically monitors what the guys are doing in terms of what they're accessing, what they're doing on the PC. There's a few software suites that we also use that monitors the activity on the actual laptops that they have throughout the day, that monitors their activity, what they're doing. We also can check exactly what part of the day, either by post or live, in the context of what the agent is actually doing. And if we want to log in and we want to access his PC, we also have that ability to do so. So we have quite I would say quite secure sort of stringent stuff, and we haven't really had much security breaches from the time we went down this route, to be honest. So we do have it quite under control, I'd say.
Yes,
Technology. Okay, over to you. Your view on technology and what, as a company, you've done to support that.
Perfect. I just want to latch onto what Treshen said there about the load shedding as well. So obviously for us, that was also a challenge that we are facing, a real life challenge in South Africa. So working from home, managing that, in a traditional call center space, you would be able to have backup generators and other methods in place in order to ensure that you have continuous service delivery. So what we've done is we've also individualized it by providing each employee with their own UPS system that they use at home to ensure that the internet connection stays online. We also monitor, similar to what Treshen said, we also monitor the schedules and the times and the areas of where the employees are situated to ensure that we minimize the impact. And then what we've done as well is we've created a dashboard from the BI team to have insight into what the impact is that load shedding has on the employees. And from that, just looking at the past year, we've had a less than 1.4% impact. on business operations, and that's out of just about 350,000 scheduled work hours from different employees. So I think it's definitely, we can definitely say that what we are doing to mitigate the risk is definitely working. And then, yeah, we also have monitoring software installed on all laptops and devices. What we also do is we have additional precautions where we don't allow employees to make use of their USB ports for they're not able to transfer data from their device to a removable device. We also have security software that we also keep up to date and monitor it live as well. And then we are ISO and GDPR compliant. So with that, there's a whole lot of policies and processes that we've put in place and that we've refined over the years to get to a place where we can also say comfortably that we manage all of our security and data based on ISO compliancy. We've renewed twice, so we know that we are compliant with that as well.
Mhm.
And
Excellent.
then what we also do is we track and monitor just the trends in terms of what's the IT support that the guys need. We also go a step further and educate the employees in terms of how they can resolve some IT issues themselves as well, just to speed up the process and minimize the impact that any technological issues might have on their work.
Okay, excellent. We're going to come back shortly, and Bernadette, if you get your head around, we've got in the work from home environment, from what both Madré and Treshen has said, we've got Big Brother is watching everything in terms of agents. We know when they log in, when they don't log in, what they're up to, what they're not doing, etc., etc. So we need to look at that from the impact of the Big Brother is watching on productivity. So I'm going to call in Cordy here. Cordy, you've had 20 something plus years in analytics, and both Madré and Treshen, we're going to be talking just now with both of you about analytics as well. So, but Cordy, being in the world of analytics and now in speech analytics, the implications of Big Brother is watching using speech analytics, in your experience over particularly the last 2 or 3 years of using this type of technology in the remote environment. What are your views on that?
So I would steer away from using speech analytics in the context or conscript of Big Brother watching. Obviously, there's an element of what are the agents saying, how are the clients responding, are they doing it properly from a home perspective, which you can obviously use speech analytics to monitor. But when COVID hit, and we had that mass exodus out of the office into the home, work from home space, and that was the start of a paradigm that will probably remain with us to some degree forever. The initial questions were, what are customers saying regarding COVID? Is it loss of income due to COVID, and track those and monitor it from a speech analytics perspective. But we're seeing that evolving to, how do we focus individual interventions based on agent requirements working from home. So certain agents might have poor connectivity. You can monitor that with the customer saying, I can't hear you, the connectivity is really poor, so you can identify those, because that won't always be apparent in the Big Brother watching model where you monitor logins and security and all of that. And the other one is to say, what are the agents really struggling with, and focus those interventions. So it's more around helping those work from home agents to be more productive, to assist them with more one-on-one style specific coaching interventions. And speech analytics is key for that. It'll identify what they're doing properly, what they're not doing properly, what are they covering, things like compliance. Are they missing certain compliance ratios or issues? Is there excessive noise? Is there excessive complaint from the customer around connectivity? So it's more around helping, coaching and guiding, but also making sure that the quality is there and customers are not complaining about the work from home ethic for certain agents, too much background noise, too much distraction in the environment.
Okay, excellent. Thanks for that, Corey. Which takes us as a segue into Bernadette, from a psychological point of view, agents knowing they're being watched. Very briefly, what's your take on that in your environment?
I think in terms of our agents and during our virtual journey, I think it's become apparent for us that there's always been this fear that work from home and being watched all the time, that agents are going to steer away from that and they're going to feel like they're being micromanaged. But I think the virtual working environment has actually helped us to cross those barriers, because the agents actually see the benefit of them being monitored, and it's not a fact of being micromanaged, because they are able to manage their time themselves as well. So with the virtual world of work, I think there is some interaction required from our side in terms of monitoring, and our agents are aware of that. We make it clear, and I think that's very important, is to have those conversations and that engagement with your employees from the get-go, and say this is, play open cards with them, and this is all the monitoring, and this is why we're doing it. And then for your employees, once they understand that, then I think they have more buy-in, and it's not a fact that we want to micromanage you, it's just that we have to monitor what is being done. But we share that information with them from get-go, and also on a day-to-day basis, having those check-ins, sharing what we've seen, so that they can also see their productivity. I think it has to be this constant open communication. It's not something we're trying to hide from them.
Okay, excellent. Treshen, from your perspective as Rewardsco, analytics certainly would be driving performance in some context. Would you speak to that? How you using your analytics to perhaps enhance performance and also maintain productivity and discipline?
Sure. So we're able to identify very quickly which of the guys are not achieving the KPIs, I can say, and we have a process of what we follow in order to get those guys back in onto where they need to be. So what happens is that if we find agents are not on par in the performance KPIs, we bring them back to the office, we get them back on par, and we redeploy them. That's our current process of what we need to do. From an analytic perspective, we do quite a lot when it comes to the call. So we identify in terms of the agents where they would essentially be falling down on the call, whether it's like, for example, in the first 10 seconds, first 30 seconds of the call, and we're able to identify and give them the support and training they require to get them on stream, if it's in regard to where they're dropping the sale or where they're losing a call. From a productivity perspective, we're also able to understand where the time is going. So where they're losing production, is it because they are on break for too long, or they're spending too much time on wrap up? So those sort of stuff is that we have those dashboards that quickly alert us to say, okay, these are the issues that we'd have with our experience, and these are the problems that we can quickly fix from an agent perspective. Yeah.
Okay, good stuff. I suppose, that leads us into the whole concept of quality assurance, QA. Madré, that falls under your sort of portfolio, does it? Or
That's
is it
more
Bernadette?
It's more under Bernadette, but I want to just also latch onto what Treshen's saying in terms of the KPIs and the monitoring and the data involvement there. There's a saying that you cannot manage what you cannot measure. And that's 100% where data analytics comes in, and the visualization of that data makes it easier for you to be able to see where there is areas for improvement, or where there's people that's excelling in certain areas. And then you can also use those employees to upskill and train and coach the other employees. So I think that is also what we've used in terms of our QA, is we've also used the data that we've collected from the timekeeping solution that Bernadette's mentioned, as well as all of the monitoring and the other software that we have on the laptops and the devices that the agents are using, or the employees are using while working from home. And we put that all into as part of their QA scorecard as a measurement. So yes, that definitely does have an impact there.
Okay, but then Bernadette, what languages are you monitoring at the moment? Oh, I see Yashika's joined us again. Thank you. I'll come to you in a second, Yashika. Bernadette.
Yeah, well, we have an impressive foreign and language profile nationally, positioning us obviously as a leader in the BPO sector with in-demand language skills. We cover all the European languages as well as the South African languages. So we've worked with clients where we had German, Portuguese, French, Dutch, Spanish, Latin, so all your European languages. And we also have a language assessment tool, which we've created internally because we've been working with these languages for so long. And this tool helps us also in our BPO sector with our clients. We are able to give them that additional service that once we recruit 4 employees for those specific campaigns, we can then also monitor and manage their language proficiency. And that helps us then to place the best candidates for our employees as well. So we do have the language assessment tool online, which we also outsource to other companies so that the rest of the BPO sector can benefit from this as well.
Excellent, thanks. Yashika, you're back with us. Thanks. I know
Yes,
you were having
Rod.
some technical challenges down there, but we did miss you. Yashika, we were discussing in particular the technologies that are used and how they are used in the work from home environment. And I'd really be interested if you would share with us particularly or focus on the security aspect. I think if we look around our industry, the grander contact center and specifically BPO space, data security, data integrity, is such a big issue. So I think your experience and specific expertise, if you would share that with us, please.
Absolutely. So what we've done at Rewardsco is the first thing we did when going work from home is we invested in an APN solution. So it's just outside of your traditional VPN. And what we do is we tunnel the traffic straight from the end user's particular SIM card through, we have dual vendors. And it comes through a Radius server, which does an authentication of the agent to say, okay, you are definitely agent ABC. Then it hits our firewall and then users are allowed into our network. So that's our first point of safety.
Mm-hmm.
The other mechanisms is we have a AI network packet sniffing tool, and that continuously monitors the agents, it monitors the network, their connectivity, and detects any anomalous behavior. So for example, if an agent is doing something outside of the norm, it will then send notifications to our SOC team, which is our network team who does 24-hour monitoring. What we also do is we've got agent capture software on the agent's machines. So it will capture the agent's journey throughout the day. So if there's something that we detect that is out of normal behavior, we can then go in to investigate. And then what we do further to that is we've got a tool that encrypts all our data across the entire business. And we've got quite stricter rules with the agents that are remote. So for example, if they're working on a file and they decide they want to email that file out, the software will immediately block them, telling them that they are not authorized to do that. If they try and, well, we block USB media sticks, and I see Madré touched on that as well. So we block, so agents are not able to copy any data off their machines. It will send immediate notifications. If they try and email it, copy it, change locations, put it on a shared drive, it will block them completely. Now that's a software not only have for agents, but we have for our on-prem users as well. So we found that was quite an amazing tool because it gave us a lot of insights in data behavior and how people manage data. And then we've got agent monitoring and tracking tools as well, which we found to be quite valuable, especially for Treshen when he's trying to monitor exactly what an agent's doing. Are they productive for the entire day? And then we also pull reports from Genesis, which is our dialer. So it gives us quite rich reports on agent behavior and activity, talk time, break time, and so on and so forth. Yes.
Okay, excellent. Once again, technology. Let's bounce the ball around a bit and say the elephant in the room, AI. And Treshen, can I throw that ball at you? Do you see or foresee AI playing a more important role going forward in the sales environment, in the revenue generation aspect of contact centers?
Yeah, sure, definitely. I think the AI journey is something that we've been beginning on, and it definitely can help us change and how we do things. I know in the call center industry, from a sales perspective, we do things as it always has been, and I do think that with AI coming along, it also open our horizon on what's the possibilities can be. Also giving us a better idea of what's out there and what are the opportunities are there. Like we use it with the team and encourage the guys to actually use AI in their job and how they go about doing it. It'll be really keen when we integrate those technologies with the other stuff, like, for example, the call listings, and able to identify weak spots and identify threat areas on the actual calls, similar to what Corby does in terms of listening and turning that into text. And then when that's into text, what you can actually do and identify problems is quite vast, because at the moment, just a human being listening to calls and assessing those calls, it doesn't give you a good spread or a lot of calls. It's going to take a lot of man hours to listen to every call. But with technology, you can do that,
Thanks for that. I'm going to come back to Corey just now to comment on that, on developments in the use of AI in the speech analytics space. I'll come back to you in a second, Corey. Bernadette, AI in your operating environment, how is it either impacting, or do you foresee it impacting in your space?
I think AI can be used to improve our operations if it's used in conjunction with what we currently have. So I've seen that also from a QA perspective, having AI tools in our QA department to assist us with monitoring those calls. And like Treshen has mentioned, it can improves because AI can listen to all the calls, whereas in a QA department, you generally would have an agent sitting and they can only listen to a certain percentage of your calls. So you still have that human intervention as well to assist, but AI will then make their work a lot lighter and easier, and it would help us also with picking up those anomalies that we generally would pick up and improve our general productivity. And it's a tool that we can use to then help our operations and our agents to improve and have that speed competency a little bit more faster.
Excellent. Corey, back to you. AI, fundamentally, I would presume that speech analytics falls into the category, it is AI. But how is recent improvements, deployments of AI capabilities, how's that impacted monitoring 100% of calls, identifying insights, and also if you could address the multilingual environment, because I think all of us here, Bernadette, in your team, you're looking at European languages, whereas I think, Treshen, correct me if I'm wrong, and Yashika, we're in South African vernacular languages. Corey, talk to us about AI and how it enhances the monitoring and analytics.
Perfect. Thanks, Rod. I think there's a couple of myths we got to dispel first around AI. And the first myth is that it's the silver bullet that does these things, and it's going to give you all the answers to questions you never knew you needed to know. But the reality is AI has limitations and it has certain capabilities. And what we're doing from a Corby perspective is we're looking at how do we deploy AI to make the process of speech analytics for our clients easier. So, AI to use to enhance the query building process using semantic queries. Instead of doing keywords and phrases, you enter the script sentence, the AI will automatically pull out the keywords and phrases to support that script sentence, speeding up the query building process. Next up for us around AI would be to look at things like categorize calls. The challenge with categorizing calls is the AI will think this is important, and it might not be, where the old way of doing categorization using keywords and phrases is far more accurate, but that technology is maturing as time goes by. The other common use case we see for AI around speech analytics is sentiment analysis. It works in certain geographies where you have a very sort of monotone speaking culture, and then you can pick up any fluctuations in tone, pitch, and volume, and that might be indicative of sentiment. We find in the South African context to be massively inaccurate. It's cultural for certain cultures to speak louder and faster than others. We have poor connectivity, so if you phone a client and he's on public transport, automatically the volume goes up, and that tends to trip the sentiment engines. But it's a state-of-the-art type technology we continuously innovate with. But for me, AI is around things like chatbots. It'll certainly help with those interactions. Really useful to do agent guidance in a real-time basis. But from a speech analytics perspective, it is early days, that promise of it's going to do everything for everyone. We need cognitive generative AI rather than, the classic AI that is around things like ChatGPT. One of the exciting things that Corby is looking at for AI next year is to say, can we use it to do things similar to ChatGPT. In other words, doing summarizations of conversations, trying to group those conversations together. So if I said, I want to have all interactions where the customer complained about a specific type of service, that is very possible, and that was something that will become part of the Corby stack in the next couple of months.
Excellent, thanks. Yashika, AI in tech, where do you see it going and impacting on the Rewardsco operations? You muted. Yashika,
Yes,
there we go.
So from our side, as Treshen's already touched on it, what we're also doing from our customer care perspective is we're using AI to help a customer through a sort of I wouldn't say their complaints journey, but their query journey. So a customer would engage with a bot, and the bot would help the customer with simple queries. Do I need an invoice? Do I need to change update details? Where it becomes more sort of complex, then it would transfer the call to the agent. Now, we currently have that in testing, and what we've seen is that will drop our customer calls, physical calls that are handled by an agent, down by 60%. Now, that is massive.
Yeah, absolutely
massive. Now, that not only helps with the call queues, but it also helps the customer from a frustration perspective. Because the last thing you want to do as a customer is sit and go, press 1, press 2, press 3, wait a while for an agent. If you can get your query resolved within the first 3 minutes of your call, that's phenomenal. So we've got that in testing at the moment, and we have very, very high hopes in that. And also from a speech analytics, we use Cordy, which we're now switching to a POC. And what we're hoping to accomplish from that is to reduce the amount, as Bernadette alluded to, is the amount of calls QA have to listen to. Also, what we're looking for is picking up phrases and sentiment, as Corey had alluded to. So if we found a customer is irate, identify why the customer was irate and how can we help that customer journey. Also, what we're looking at is the full customer journey. So Yashika as a customer, where did she start and where did she end? How do we improve the journey? How do we handhold her for better products? And how do we upsell? So the AI journey with us is phenomenal, and it's just growing.
Excellent. And Treshen, I'm going to pull you in there. I'm sure you're starting to get really excited about using tech and AI and analytics to drive increased revenues from a sales perspective. If you had a magic wand, what type of application would you deploy in your environment to drive revenue? Hardcore sales. Show me the money.
Yeah, I think it would be in assisting the agents live on a call, So as they on a call with the customer and they're having difficulties to, persuade him to take a product, for the AI bot to actually give him suggestions or recommendations on what he could say and how he could say it. I think that would be beneficial from a sales perspective. From a management perspective, I think identifying areas, because the software can consume a whole lot of data at one go, it will be able to give us a more holistic opinion on where the opportunities to improve comes from and where we can optimize and improve efficiencies. I think that's where its strength lies, and I do foresee it in the near future that's going to be a possibility for us.
Excellent. Well, it's exciting times ahead. Bernadette, back to you again. Now I want you to look at people in the work from home environment, recruiting in particular. I'd be very keen to start understanding, and maybe Yashika and Treshen and Madré as well, let's pick up on that thing. Are we looking at a particular type of person who thrives in a work from home environment versus somebody else who needs the vibe of an office environment? First, Bernadette.
Yeah, I think that's very important in the recruitment strategy of the BPO and any company, especially when you're recruiting work from home. So we do have on our side the tools in place to actually, in our recruitment process, ascertain whether an individual would be suited for a work from home position. In terms of our recruiters, they do their screening and they have certain questions that they would ask the candidates that will already allude to that. But we also have assessments that we use, and those assessments will also and this is assessments that we've tried and tested over a long period of time. I mean, we've been using this now for more than a year or 2 years already. So we've developed this in-house, and through all our learnings, we've been able to actually ascertain the right assessment to assist us with this. And we can then, with this assessment, see whether the individual will be able to work autonomously in a work from home solution or not. And I think that we've kind of aced this by now, because with our productivity that we've seen with the individuals that we employ, all of them are top notch in terms of their productivity. We haven't had any issues with any of our individuals, probably one or two. And then in terms of our individuals and our attrition rate, I mean, our attrition rate is like at a 2.9%, and that has been the highest for us. So that also shows that the individuals that we are employing are happy employees. They really fit in well in our environment, and they produce the productivity that we need for our customers, giving them the best customer service possible. And our employees, they don't want to leave our employ. And I think that, again, coming back to the work from home solution, it's that happy employees, they are productive, they're in a work from home environment that helps them to have a work-life balance. And we all have families, we have life outside of work. They save a lot of time where they can spend more time with their families. They don't have to commute. They save money because they don't have to pay money to commute. They're not involved in socio-political incidents, because we have a lot of that in South Africa as well. So for me, in our recruitment strategy, having that entire package, making sure that you have certain questions that you would have to ask your individuals, using assessments, and then also just having the right individuals who are able to manage that for you, I think is really important. So yeah, not everybody is a fit for work from home, definitely. Some people can work on their own at home, and others prefer to be in an office environment. So it's very important to get that and ascertain that before you appoint someone in a work from home solution.
Right.
Again, like I said, we had over 400 employees with 96% working from home over a 4-year period. So I think the stats speak for themselves.
Wonderful. Yashika, I know technology is your main focus in there, but do you have a view on recruitment and staffing? I mean, you're running almost 2,000 agents down there. What is your view on that?
Absolutely, and shame, Treshen, I don't want to take your thunder, because that's more monitored by Treshen's area. But we do have a recruitment process where we recruit for work from home, and I think the biggest test comes from the fact that we get our agents dialing on premises for at least a month to actually make sure that they're the right fit to work from home. Once we've ascertained that through a lot of tests and analytics that Treshen and his team conduct, we send the agents home, and then we monitor them very, very closely. So I think it's between 3 to 6 months to ensure that they're the right candidate. And then there's a lot of meetings, meetings both on-prem and off-prem to make sure that the agent is comfortable, they're still happy to stay at home. And then the journey begins. Once they're found competent, then they will remain at home. But if they're found not, then they'll be brought back to the office, and then they will be stationed there going forth. And then there'll be training that continues during that whole cycle as well.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Madré, are there any questions that you are asked about work from home agents and about, I know your organization specializes in that. What are the big questions that you would be asked about the practicality of work from home? Just to steer you a little bit, particularly cost management. It's something else. I'll come back to Treshen on that one as well. Is let's look at the upsides, the pros and the cons from a financial point of view. But your views.
I think from a financial point of view, things that will pop up regularly when you consider the pros and the cons for working from home is in terms of equipment and software needed to monitor the agent's productivity that we've touched on. I think that's a big financial impact there. But if you also look at an office environment, you'll have similar measures in place in an office environment in any case. Some of the cost savings from a work from home environment is that you do not have the physical office expense and paying for that physical office expense. So what we've done is we we provide the employees with the option of either taking a dongle, which we then pay for the data in order to have the internet connection, or we then give them an allowance for a fiber connection for them working from home. So we still have the connectivity expense, but you do not have the physical office rental expense as such. With the hybrid solution that we are following, where we do have that 4% working from an office environment, due to the specific campaign requiring that from us, we've found that some of the challenges that we experience with the technical abilities is also quite costly in terms of having the internet connection at that specific office building, because you need to make use of a certain internet service provider there. You do not have the ability to choose who your preferred provider is, and you cannot save costs there. We've also found that, having to drive into the office to go and sort out certain IT support queries that comes in also adds to an additional cost there. So I think that's also one thing that I'm pro working from home more than working from an office environment. And then I think you have to invest in managers that are able to work from or manage and monitor and motivate their staff from a work from home solution. So if you look at a traditional office environment, some people still have the mindset where they're focused on, if I cannot see you, I do not believe that you're busy working. So that's also important when selecting the correct staff and ensuring that you've got those managers in place to also, support the employees with their daily workload while working from home. So you might also experience a cost there in terms of having the correct staff appointed.
Excellent. Nice answer there. Thanks. Treshen, can I throw one of the questions coming up from one of our delegates, in fact, was my good friend and colleague, Henriette Portita. This is, do your assessments of the ergonomic and environmental factors of the work from home, do you do an assessment of the environmental and ergonomic in the employee's workspace? How do you assess that?
So one of the requirements for you to actually go and work from home and for you to be a validated candidate would be for you to have a workspace that is ergonomically friendly for you. What we generally do is we would house you for 4 to 6 weeks. And you would need to achieve specific requirements from a performance perspective, but also there's a checkbox exercise that we do in terms of the area that you're in, and then also the environment that you're going to be working in at home when you actually do go through that. What we found is for guys that have been deployed remotely for a long period of time, initially they lost the touch of a working environment. So then what we've done is that we've got a process where each agent comes to the office at least once a month to have a wellness check with the leadership team and a touch base, just to ensure that we have that connection with the staff. In terms of to touch a bit like what Madré was saying, is also that sometimes is lost, and you got to have a really, really strong leadership when it comes to managing guys that work from home. That's definitely a must. But we also try to keep that connection going. We've also adopted a few initiatives, like for example, when we're running incentives, we make use of the Checker 6060 app to deliver the guys the incentives. So we try to make them feel special while they're at home and still part of the team environment, because that's really important. I mean, each team's got their own WhatsApp group, and that's like basically their office, so they're constantly on that. Our guys have constant teams meetings with their agents, so that like how we're on this one, that they constantly feel part of something and part of the business. I think that's quite important. And from a cost perspective, our costs are actually 40% less where we have agents.
That's the figure I wanted. Thank you for putting your head on the block for that. 40% lower cost in a work from home environment.
And 30% improved revenue.
Okay. As we are heading towards wrap up now, I'm watching the clock very closely. I think that also addresses one of the questions that came up from Beverly Dixon, as relationships with team leaders, etc. So the cost factor, that's almost a subject of a separate session altogether. But I think if we could just do round the room, round robin, and starting with you, Bernadette, any wrap up? Let's call it advice to any operator out there thinking, considering deploying agents from home, either in entire workforce or a hybrid model. Quick 30 seconds, 1 minute.
Yeah, I think it's important that you really look at your agents in terms of recruiting the right agent that is a good fit for work from home. I think is a good starting point. And like Madré and everybody's touched on, and having the right support teams in place who can manage work from home. And I think what's very important and what we haven't really touched on as much as the employee engagement and wellness. I think that once your employees are at home is to make sure that you have those engagement initiatives to assist with driving your employee engagement. Because once your employee becomes unengaged, that is when productivity start going down. They don't feel part of the bigger picture. So we host monthly engagements with our employees. We have team building initiatives virtually as well. I mean, we've had to come dine with me, come cook with me with our team. So I think it's very important that once you have a work from home solution, it's fantastic. We have to have the productivity going and make sure that we have all the data security and all those measures in place. But from a human perspective, being alone at home, they need to feel that they're part of a company, that they're part of a big picture.
I think that supports what Treshen was saying there as well. Excellent. Thanks for that, Bernadette. Madré, your closing remarks, 30 seconds to a minute, high points.
Like I said, I'm definitely pro work from home, but I think you need to evaluate and analyze if it is a fitted solution for you. In terms of what your operations are and what your core business functionality is. I think it definitely has the ability to allow you to focus all of your energy and efforts on your strategic goals, more so than, organizing an office environment and all of the things that comes with that.
Good point.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yashika, last words, and are you going to put a technical spin on it? An operational spin on it.
Definitely. So I think one of our biggest learnings at Rewardsco when we embarked on the work from home journey was the learnings, particularly in South Africa, around load shedding. And what we found is investing in multi-network solutions, whereby your agents have different vendors in which they can connect to at different points in the day. Because what we found is, although we managed agents' load shedding schedules and connectivity, we found that certain towers would go down in different areas, but had affected the agent's connectivity and voice. So what we did was we invested in a multi-vendor network. So we use Vodacom and MTN, and agents switch between the networks throughout the day to ensure that their connectivity is always 100% up. And we found that our agent connect rates increased quite drastically when we did that. So I'll definitely recommend a multi-vendor network. And I think also, in agent wellness, as Bernadette alluded to, always check in on the agents, make sure they're fine, they're happy, they're doing okay. And if we, wellness days, to bring them into a central location, just to have that face-to-face interaction. Because although we see each other on Zoom meetings or team meetings,
it's not the same.
It's not the same to shake someone's hand and give them a hug. And I think that is very, very important to keep that open.
Excellent. Thanks for that. Treshen, your closing remarks from a sales driver point of view.
I think, the reason why that we were thrown into this was for lockdown and for business continuity. What we found was it had we had job creation through that period, and the benefits of positive employee sentiments, and commercially, it just overall works, more revenue and reduced costs. From an agent perspective, we have access now to give people that are generally wouldn't be able to get a job. From a sales perspective, from a sales perspective as well, is that even if we have downtime, we have the ability to catch up, because you're more working from an 8 to 5 window, but you actually can have an 8 to 8 window. So you always have that leverage in your back pocket when you need to have that. I think coming into this, if you're a new business trying to go from work from home, it starts with the people that you are employed. You got to be a bit of a more mature character, I would say, because you're going to be left alone for periods of time and you'll be required to do that. As a business, that important touch connection factor is important, because what we've noticed when we leave people for at least 3 months without bringing them to the office once, they lose touch with the work environment. That's quite important. And having solid business processes that it's you're dealing with a higher risk but also a higher return. So the return for the agent should be bigger, but the risk as well for him to come back and be an office base should also be there as well. I think that's a good carrot to dangle, because the benefits for the agents are quite good. I mean, there's more time with the family. The work-life balance is much better. You're able to have more family time, as well as you're not going through transportation. You're saving costs there. So the benefits for the agents is there, But I think having those processes in place, and then from a technical aspect, ensuring those safety checks are in place as well, and it's quite robust enough to keep your operations operating safely.
Excellent. Thanks for that. And now to wrap it up, first and foremost, it's my special thanks to Cordy for sponsoring these webinars that we put together. They've been a fantastic support to my initiatives, both in building sort of information sharing and knowledge sharing in our industry, and particularly in the BPO space. So we're driving through there. So Cordy, this is your 30 seconds to 1 minute to do a wrap up, and I'll allow you to do a sales pitch as well.
So let's go lightly. Firstly, from my side to the panelists, thank you. Your insights have been invaluable. To the attendees, it's always a pleasure to see some familiar faces and names. Thank you for making the time. Now, I think everyone has said it. Work from home is the new norm, although it might be on a hybrid basis. There's sufficient technology to ensure, privacy and security of the information being shared and the environment, but also to look at technology as the enabler rather than as a big brother watching. Speech analytics is a great one of that. It's actually there to help improve agent performance, monitor that improvement, and then focus on the areas that need to have additional improvement. From a Corby perspective, a number of the people, attendees, as well as some of the audience, our clients, thank you for that. But yeah, I'm here if you ever want to have a further discussion around it. I know Rod might send out to say if you want a demonstration. I'm happy to have that conversations and chat around how some of our clients are using it to enhance the agent as well as the customer experience from a work from home perspective. And that's it. Thanks, Rod.
Thank you, everybody. So around the room, Bernadette, thanks so much. Madré, thanks for joining us. Yashika, we missed you and your technical challenges here, but thank you very much for your inputs. And Treshen, onwards and upwards, and thanks so much for your inputs. Cordy, my colleague, friend, and business partner, thanks for joining us. And with that, thank you, everybody, and goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining this episode. I hope that you enjoyed the content. Please subscribe for more regular industry news and updates. And for more information about the remarkable Corby Speech Analytics solution and how this low-cost technology can significantly improve your contact center's performance and compliance, please email me or visit the Corby website at corby.io, or you can find Corby on LinkedIn. And always remember, dial with a smile.